Welcome back to the channel, everyone. David Bromshinkle here. Today we are discussing the worst baits that I fished this year. These are baits that did not produce fish for me, or very few. Some of these I'm going to get a little flack for because of the hype and the brands that they are. But I'm just telling you guys, I didn't catch jack squat on these baits this year for some reason. And actually, one of these baits I've caught fish in the past, but this year just did not produce for me. Now, with that being said, I'm not saying that these baits aren't good. I'm sure they are. I know they are. But for me, they just sucked. And so let's jump right into it. My number one bait, which I was really disappointed in because there was a lot of hype going into this year. They came out I think they were released last fall, and I know they got a lot of attention, and I was excited after I ordered 2 or 3 of them to put them to work this year, and that is the Z-Man Hellraiser. I don't know what it is about this bait. It looks really good, but I just couldn't get them to bite this thing for some reason. I buy in this transparent bluegill-ish color, which I thought would be a dynamite for the spring when the fish are in the pre-spawn and post-spawn when the fish are guarding fry and whatnot. And bone-colored one, which was just kind of a standard top water color that you just always have. But I couldn't get them to bite this thing. I don't know if it's the profile of if they don't like the needlefish type profile or what, which we don't have up here in Minnesota. I'm still going to throw them next year. Maybe it was just an off year. Maybe I'm still learning this bait, but I'm excited to try it again next year. But hopefully somebody smashed them this year on them for all the hype that was around it. The second bait that I was disappointed in this year is I caught fish on this lure category, but for some reason this bait, for the amount of hype and what it costs, I was kind of disappointed. And that's the Megabass Jamaica Boa buzz bait. I only caught 3 northern pike on this bait, and they were big ones, but I didn't catch any bass, which I was really disappointed in because I love throwing buzz baits. But for some reason, they just did not like it where I'm at. I have a buddy that fishes this particular bait quite often, and he hammered them this year, but for me, it just sucked. The other problem that I didn't like about this bait was how it's got that brass clicker that the blade is supposed to hit and tick as it's going through the water. But what I found was that just casting it and whatnot would bend this wire up to where it wasn't even hitting that brass bead. So I may as well have just been throwing my normal buzz bait that I make for under $4, because for $15 or whatever, I was really disappointed. I mean, if it just wouldn't bend so easily, I could see myself buying it again, but I was just disappointed how that, and even now just to get that blade to hit that brass bead is, after it's been bent out, is kind of a pain in the butt. I'm sure I'm going to get flack for that. My third bait is actually a bait that I've been throwing for two years now, and I've thrown it under every single condition I can think of that it would apply, and I just can't get it to work. I have caught fish on it, but not very many. And that's a chicken jig from Alcast. For some reason, I just can't get the chicken to work for me. consistently. I know it's a summertime bait, summer and fall time bait, and it's an offshore type deal, which I do a lot of. I know Seth Biter likes to throw it a lot, and he catches a ton of fish on it. But I think it's because of his mustache and him smoking darts that makes the fish bite this bait, to be honest with you. It looks good. I like the profile of it. I like the slow fall for a 3/4 ounce jig, but I don't know. I just can't get it to work after 2 years. My fourth bait it falls under another category, and that's the scrounger type baits. I just cannot get them to bite this thing. It looks good. It's like a finesse chatterbait, really, going through the water, especially for offshore and deep fish and with forward-facing sonar. I threw this bait a lot. I can't get them to bite it. Now, I'm not faulting the Super Fluke. I love that bait. I caught fish on it. I catch fish on that bait every year, but the scrounger type jig heads this year for me just sucked. Don't know what it is about it. My last bait that I want to talk about is actually a bait that I've caught fish on and have had a lot of success in the past. And I throw it a lot. And that's a 10-inch ribbon-tail worm. But for some reason this year, they did not want it. I could get them to bite a 7-inch, but a 10-inch? No. I couldn't buy a bite on it. I could take the 7-inch version in the exact same color and throw it right back to where I was throwing the 10-inch. I'd get bit. But they wouldn't hit the 10-inch. I don't know if that had to do with the water clarity that I've been fishing around here lately. If it's been clearing up, or the water temperature was really hot this year, and that's normally when you want to throw a bigger worm, is when the water gets up there in temperature. But for me, it didn't work. Now, I'm not saying that these are terrible baits at all, because I'm sure somebody out there just hammered them this year on every single one of those baits. But for me and on my boat this year, they just sucked. So in the comment section, I would like to hear, let me know what baits just didn't produce for you guys. Or if one of my baits on my list, you guys hammered on them, I'd like to hear that too. We're going to close out 2023 with my best baits that produced for me this year. So make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. You're not going to want to miss it. Till then, we'll see you all on the wire.